Does it? Welcome to the Town of Emmitsburg Town Meeting for the night of Monday, May 20th, 2024. At this time, I invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Future meetings we have coming up. We have a Board of Commissioners meeting on June 3rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. here in the town office and on Zoom. At this time, we can begin with Commissioner comments. I'll start at the end of the line with Commissioner O'Donnell.
She needs to read the opening. Commissioner Bowman Pollock.
Oh, I forgot.
Yes.
The beginning statement.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you. I'm trying to reference 3, 4. Read at the beginning of the meeting. Okay, let's backtrack. The Board of Commissioners will be holding a closed executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, and any other personnel matter that affects one or more of the specified individuals. The authority for this meeting for the meeting in closed session is for this purpose is permitted by the general provisions article section 3-305B1 annotated Code of Maryland, which authorizes us to meet in closed session to discuss employment. So that will happen after we close the open public meeting tonight. Thank you. Now we can go on to Commissioner comments. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Okay, I'll break tradition on this night as we usually just stick to the budget, but I'll ask. State Highway, Maryland State Police, Frederick County Sheriff's Office, the traffic that's approaching the university for the graduation events is profoundly dangerous right now. They had no variable message signboard in advance when you crest the ridge, and traffic was veering over to the side to get into a queue to enter the university's property. I saw that there were already at least 1 or 2 fender benders there that had pulled off and up to the side. So my ask is if we could perhaps contact the State Highway, Frederick County Sheriff's Office, and the Maryland State Police to do something a little bit more. There was 1 police vehicle there, but it seemed profoundly insufficient. That was a safety thing. On a more neutral tone, Parks and Rec, the committee will meet tomorrow night here in the town office at 7:30 p.m. And we have a lot of cool stuff for the meeting lined up, including a schedule of summer events for Active Emmitsburg. And we're hoping to hear from the Emmitsburg football/soccer club to just introduce themselves and talk about what they hope to see with their program in town for young people. Thank you.
Commissioner Turnquist.
There will be a planning commission meeting May 28th at 7 p.m. here at the town office. That's all I have.
Okay. I just have a quick few comments and I'll continue down the line. First, I wanted to congratulate Carriage House, who this past week was featured on America's Best Restaurants. So we had a whole day where the owners and the staff and Chef Jed invited the public to come celebrate with them as they taped the session all about America's Best Restaurants right here in Emmitsburg. It was wonderful to see as the chef highlighted all the local farmers and suppliers that he makes use of here in town to cook fresh, and how it just shows how our community comes together to help support each other. And it was wonderful. So congratulations to Carriage House, and keep an eye out for when that comes out. Second, I just wanted to wish everybody a safe and happy Memorial Day, and to remember all those who served in the military, gave up their lives for our country, those who are currently serving, who have served, any families of people who have been in the military, to keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and to thank them. Please, if you see anyone in the service, thank them for their service. And going on to Commissioner Hoover.
I have no comment at this time.
Okay, Mayor Davis. Oh, I've heard.
Go ahead.
No, you sure?
I'll take it back.
I'm just very tired tonight. So, also, I know Mayor Davis and the town staff has been promoting this for a couple of months now, but finally our My Emmitsburg app is available. It's finally on both platforms, Android and Apple. So please download this, access information, view latest updates, receive notifications, and a whole lot more. You can see how you can just access just about anything from here. So this is the way to keep informed and always have it in your pockets. And I think we're going to continue promotion through the next couple of months to try to get as many people signed up so that we can be in communication with you. Thank you. I'm done now, I promise.
I don't have a whole lot other than, and this is very important, Jarrett Brantner, our water and sewer treatment supervisor, might have just gave you a promotion, I don't know, but attended a conference in Ocean City that Emmitsburg received an award from the Maryland Department of Environment. It was the 2023 AWOP Gold Award. And that is awarded to water plants that consistently produce high quality water that exceeds is a key word, state and federal standards. So Jarrett, would you please stand up and be recognized, and thank you and your guys for what you did. That was exciting news there. So, and it was the first time that I believe that we had anyone attend this conference, and Jarrett came back with just a wealth of information. He got new ideas and ways that we can improve our water plan free of charge, right? Yeah, well, maybe not. So, but thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you. I'm assuming we don't have any public comment tonight, correct? All right, thank you. Moving on to our agenda items. Number 1 is presentation and review of the FY25 Town of Emmitsburg budget. So I understand that we're starting off with a presentation, correct?
Yes, we have a PowerPoint presentation. It's probably about 90 slides.
Okay.
Didn't know if you wanted us to go through that, or we wanted to field your questions and concerns, and we can use the PowerPoint to answer your questions. I'm going to let it up to you all how you want to proceed.
I personally would like, theoretically, if we were to go through all 90 slides, how long would it take? Barring any questions.
I can move quick.
We should be out by Friday before the weekend. No, I think maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
All right.
I can move quick.
Thoughts? I would like to hear as
Yeah,
many.
basically
details
what
as
it
you
is, it's a
can.
prettied up version of the budget. So
Sure.
it'll help you with some graphs and charts and things. So
I think it can only be helpful,
Sure,
so I am
that's
willing
fine. I
to.
wanted to give you all the options.
Right, so as we go into this presentation, may I suggest, or how do we think this would work best, to hold questions until after the presentation so that we can get through it and then have questions after?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I can wear my glasses.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Sweeney will be late today because he cannot divide himself into 3 people. He's triple booked, but he should be here within the next 45 minutes. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah.
All right, so this PowerPoint, it's the budget highlights of 2025, but it also goes over the highlights of the current fiscal year budget 2024. This PowerPoint was put together by myself, Mayor Davis, Kim, and Sabrina. Next. We'll start with the general fund revenues. It's just to kind of give you a snapshot. So in fiscal year 24, we budgeted just about $2.2 million. in the fiscal year 24, and you can see the revenue spread for that year. And next. In fiscal year 25, we estimated revenues at $2.5 million. You can see the revenue spread there as well. Slight increases across the board, pretty much for revenues. You'll see the majority of the town's revenues come from the taxes, and then second would be the county revenue, which is the tax equity. Next. This just goes to show you the general fund revenues trends since 2015. All the numbers from FY 13 through 23 are true audited numbers. So they're actual revenues, and then fiscal year 24 and 25 are obviously estimated numbers. Go ahead. Here's again, the real estate taxes revenue. Any numbers you see prior to 24 are going to be audited numbers. Go ahead. And this is how we compare since 2013 to the current, when you start comparing general fund revenues and expenses. We basically highlighted some of the areas in the general fund to kind of look at. So in fiscal year 24, we budgeted close to $2.2 million in expenses. That includes your $89,229 that was transferred to your interfund, which is an interfund transfer to Fund 2 or capital improvements. Next. Fiscal year 25, again, we estimated revenues at 2.5 million. And then you'll see the areas broken out. Your largest increase is going to be in your legislative fund at about an increase of about 135,000. And then obviously the sheriff's office contract under police, that's about a $64,000 increase. Next. And we just wanted to show legal fees. Legal fees have estimated about $110,500. That was in fiscal year 24 and 25. You'll see the largest area where we budget our legal fees is in your planning and zoning. Again, this is just another pie chart for your legal fees. You can skip. Just your police safety or your police safety contracts since 2015. You'll see the significant increase from fiscal year 23 to 25. Then just highlighting a couple areas, Department 30, which is your public works, fiscal year 25 and contractual, budgeted estimated of $25,000. It's split up between snow removal, parking enforcement, and then general, which includes a lot of miscellaneous things. It includes your human resources, your missed utility tickets, etc. Operating supplies, 12,300. And it's pretty much an even spread through all the different categories, including your parking enforcement, your signs, etc. Repairs and maintenance, again, 3,650. And then just the breakout. Operating supplies for your parks, it's estimated this year, we budgeted 9,850. You have 2,000 for the pool. Your largest component is your park buildings, and followed by, again, your pool. Repairs and maintenance in the parks, budgeted 28,250, and it's spread out through many different areas. Special events for the parks. We budgeted 13,600. Your largest area is going to be your community functions, which includes, not limited to, but includes the Turkey Trot, your Arbor Day, your Green Fest. And then you have your pool parties, your farmer's market, your community garden, and then just general. Contractual in Department 60, budgeted 94,685, with your largest component being your pool. The pool contract for this season is $79,225. $8,000 for Jiffy John's, which we will hope go away next fiscal year with the electronic locking doors, and then mowing, and then just general. Your capital projects funds, the estimate, these are some projects that we see for fiscal year 25. These will be your capital projects related to your general fund. The bathroom project, completing the concession and restroom. Ms. Shaw applied for a farmer's market grant to get electricity. The multi-user trail improvement, the Red Trail repair, bids are actually due tomorrow. The construction of 2 picnic shelters at the ADA playground. This was citizen-driven for parents and families that take their kids. The new scoreboard in Memorial Park. The replacement of our 4 Welcome to Emmitsburg signs on each end of town, as well as the North Seaton Avenue Green Street project, which is done in will be done in conjunction with the water line replacement. We wanted to show the next 3 slides deal with MS4 and what the costs, we estimate the costs to be in this upcoming fiscal year for MS4 and stormwater. I won't read through all these, but these are all mandated items. They're part of your MS4 permit. They're the different categories that we have to meet. The street sweeping and maintaining the BMP database. The next slide, we have letter L is the tree plantings. If we are able to plant on our own land, it's a very minimal cost. However, if we have to plant on somebody else's land, there are surveying costs that are associated with that. The pollution prevention and good housekeeping report is approximately $12,000. The annual employee training that we do in September every year. Then the final page, the bottom line item would be the Northgate Stormwater Basin retrofit project. The preliminary evaluation is estimated at $45,000. So the grand total would be $143,078 for MS4 in this upcoming fiscal year. Again, these are estimates. Next page. This is the proposed, this was last year's, I'm sorry, at last year's Capital Fund 2 transfers fiscal year 24. We had an excess of $89,229. Next one. In this current fiscal year 25, we have an estimate or a budget amount of $85,995. And the breakout showing where it's recommended by staff and the mayor to put the funds. You'll see it's broken up between stormwater, vehicles, paving, streets general, and 2 items in the parks. We have 3 proposed projects for paving outside of the 2 that the board already approved during the budget transfer. So in this current fiscal year, on the schedule would be Silo Hill from Robindale Drive in Silo Hill, excuse me, Robindale Drive, Heritage Lane to University Drive. Northgate would be Zanella Drive, Provincial Parkway to the end of both cul-de-sacs, or including both cul-de-sacs, and then East North Ave, Federal Avenue to West Main Street. Just a quick breakdown on ARPA. So as all the funds need to be obligated by the end of the year, and we are on track to have that done. And all funds need to be spent by December of 2026. I outlined all the projects and the monies that's been allocated to those projects. We have a leftover, or we have a negative of $945,000 or $945.27. So it's pretty close. The water fund. Again, this is just look at where your water revenue's been since 2015. Just keep in mind, fiscal year 15 to 23 are again audited numbers. Next. Your water expenses, another graph showing your water expenses. And this slide shows you a comparison of where your revenue is compared to where your expenses are. All right, contractual for water, budgeted 49,925. The biggest chunk of that is general, and there's a variety of things in there. There's a control systems 21 that does some of our backwash valves, HR, some Rainbow Lake mowing, and our GIS contract for it's split between water and sewer to map all our water and sewer lines, plus all our repairs. Next. Operating supplies and water in fiscal year 25. We budgeted 107,935, with the majority of that being at your water plant or involving your water plant at 59,635. Next, chemicals, fiscal year 25, we budgeted 44,500. In fiscal year 24, it was 37,500. We've seen an increase in the cost of soda ash. It's been trending upwards. So we added additional monies. Next, this is just a graph that shows you from fiscal year 21 to 25 where you spend your money for chemicals. As you can see, the biggest one is your soda ash. Next. Fiscal year 25 repairs and maintenance for water. It's budgeted $141,600, with your largest amount being for your water plant. We also have an increase in wells for some needed meters and pumps. Next, the LG Sonic. The LG Sonic was deployed in 2016. As you know, it's used to control the algae in the lake. Back in 2016, we had a yearly average backwash of 1.284 million gallons per day. With the installation of the LG Sonic and some other enhancements at the water plant, we've been able to track it downwards to 800,000. Which you'll see, that's fine, you can skip ahead. But the LG Sonic was out of service from December of 23 to, it was just put back in at the end of April. Yearly water savings. As I said, it just basically shows you the water that you're saving through the use of the LG Sonic, as well as some of our enhanced treatments. We're estimating that we're saving about 15,869 gallons per day. If you multiply that out or divide that out by the state 250 gallons per day, it's estimated to be saving 63 taps with the LG Sonic, as well as some other enhancements. Next, I just wanted to keep in the back of everybody's mind is the MDE mandatory lead service line inventory spreadsheet that has to be completed by October 16th, 2024. The town of Emmitsburg is mandated to develop an inventory to identify all our main lines, as well as all the sewer lines and what the lines are made up of. And it has to be to MDE by October 16th of 2024. This is an unfunded mandate that was put on all municipalities or all public providers of water. Today, we posted a survey online and on Facebook, and we'll be sending it out in the mail. Everybody's help will be greatly appreciated. As a result of this, there may be lines that will need to be repaired or replaced in the future. Next, again, this is just going over. Number 4 will show you achieving 100% lead pipe replacement within 10 years, and it begins in fiscal year 27. After the first year, you must submit an updated inventory of all lines, and then must notify any customer with lead service lines annually by July 1st. Some of the water projects that we've got, just a quick update, the water clarifier. This was the budget for the water clarifier. The contract for the clarifier should be signed by the end of the week. We're hoping. Next one. The DePaul Street water line. That's the estimated cost. We are still waiting on MDE to approve Huntsberry as our contractor. Still waiting. Next one, this is the estimated cost for the North Seaton Avenue Waterline and Green Street project. We're hoping to have that one ready to go out to bid by the end of the year. You're fine. Updates, it's just quick updates on the projects. I think I covered most of them. The Creamery Road Pump Station, it should be completed by January 1st of 25. And then I went over the other three projects. Next. Fiscal year 25 capital improvement projects for the water fund. Some items, the DePaul Street water line, the water clarifier. The third item, this is something that staff's been looking into. Again, this is a planning tool. This is for the board to see. And if there's questions on this one, Jared could probably answer it. The water meter upgrade project. These numbers aren't set in stone. I actually got another email from another vendor today with a different pricing. Rambo Lake Dam repairs as needed. As you remember, this is another thing that MDE put on us. The North Seaton Avenue Waterline Green Street project, and then the lead line service repairs as needed per the MDE mandate. Next. Some future capital improvement projects past this current fiscal year and fiscal year 25. We're going to continue to seek funding for the 16-inch main water line from the water plant to town. If so desired, we'll continue to work towards upgrading our water meters. Any necessary Rainbow Lake Dam repairs, any necessary lead service line repairs. And then 3 water line projects that are on the radar: the North Seaton Avenue project, the water line from the bridge to Route 15, the Waynesboro Pike water line from Track Road to the end of the line, and West Main Street water line from Fraley Road to Timber Mill Run. Sewer fund. Your sewer revenue, just a graph. 2015 is when we were in construction for the new sewer plant, so there was consistent revenue based off the grants and the loans, and that's when it was at that high amount. Your sewer expenses, just a graph showing you your sewer expenses, and then the next graph, it shows you your revenues and your sewer expenses lined up. Sewer contractual, we budgeted 87,650, which is down slightly from last year. Next one. Your sewer operating supplies budgeted at 60,450. You'll see the largest component will be your sewer plant. Next one. Your chemicals at 78,900. It is only up $400 from last year. You'll see the largest amount is going to be your alum. Next one. Repairs and maintenance for the sewer plant, budgeted 140,700, with your largest component being your sewer plant, followed by, I believe it's your lab. No, general. Next one. These are some sewer infrastructure projects for fiscal year 25. We have sewer relining, the field between Route 140, Nevin Court, and Mountain View Road. I don't believe it'll be the full 125,000. I think that was it's going to be a high estimate. And then your Creamery Road pump station. The focus is going to be on I&I, particularly this year for the sewer fund. So the camera and jetting the sewer lines throughout town, we're estimating about 100,000. An additional 9 smart manhole covers. The lagoon liner replacement, 100,000. That's a maybe. That's not we're not sure on that one yet, right, Sharon? Okay. And then the last 2 would be 2 sewer line inspection cameras, so staff can inspect some camera lines. And then a Boss Jet Max trailer sewer jetter. It's a hot and cold system that allows us to get in and clean.
Yeah, clean the pipes, and because it's hot, it will eat the grease.
There we go. Thank you. Future ones outside of fiscal year 25 would continue to sewer reline as determined by the investigation methods. And we'd like to add 8 additional smart manhole covers next fiscal year. Real quick, just some other budget items. First one would be your pool revenue. COVID hit us hard on pool revenue. We're slowly coming back. The pool revenue for FY 24 was as of December 31st of 23. The next slide would be your electric budget for fiscal year 22, 23, 24, and 25. The largest user is your sewer plant. Next. This is a breakdown of your total energy expenses, which is a combination of your Potomac Edison and your UGI, and then our first energy refund. As you can see, from July 23 through December 23, we've, that's a true number, 64,000. Is that a true number?
That would be through, yeah.
Yeah, so that's an actual number on your total energy expenses. Next. Just a slide showing your town energy expenses. What we spend on insurance, that includes your property, general, and liability. It's, as you can see, like everything else, it's been trending upward since 2021. We're at 58,400 this year, estimated for 25. Next slide is your debt obligations that we currently have. The Mountain View water line is about paid off, correct? Yes, there's only 21,000 left.
Actually, it did get paid off this year, so it is now done.
Okay. Oh, so this is as of,
24.
okay.
Yes, so that was, yes, that was in June 23, so in the first 6 months of. Sorry. Yes, that was as of December. So in the first 6 months, I believe it was February of 2024, it was paid off. So fiscal year 24, it ended.
Okay, so you still have your South Seaton water line, which will be paid off shortly. The Lincoln Avenue water line, the new wastewater treatment plant. We have two loans for that project. Next. Your water fund depreciation. These are all audited numbers as we show depreciation in the audit and not in the budget. This one, same thing for the sewer. Okay. This is your remaining taps. I have, you have currently 1,432 remaining in your sewer. That takes into account to some of the projects that have already been kind of on the radar. And then you have 143 water taps if you take all of these other projects. Next. Again, this is the remaining tap count. This one. This is just, we just threw in some photos of some things that happened this year. We can go through these real quickly. These are the pump station progress photos. You can keep going, Jess. Then the projects that the town completed in fiscal year 24 so far, the community park storybook trail, the cornhole boards, the picnic tables in both parks, the helmet and bat racks, speed trailer, and then some paving projects. The storm drain project back at the disc golf course, the new surveillance cameras. We were re-awarded, recertified for the 6th year in a row as the Tree City USA town. This was one of the community legacy projects that benefited from fiscal year 24 funding. Town events, just go through those real quick. The farmer's market, which will be starting June 7th, I believe. Is that correct? Yes. Next. You can just go through these. National Night Out, our pool parties, Earth Day, Christmas tree lighting, and the mayor by the turkey. If anybody didn't, that went by fast, Jess.
Sorry.
That was going to be my highlight of my slide presentation. Oh, and here's just a highlight of, and this is all on your grant managers or grant administrators report. We just highlighted some of the grants that Ms. Shaw has applied for. One I'll note, we just heard the CP, Community Parks and Playground Bike Repair Stations was not approved. And then the last one that says did not pursue, that's because we used ARPA money. The next one. And that's it, Community Legacy Grant. Okay.
Thank you. My first question is, will we have a copy of the PowerPoint? All right, thank you. Okay, so at this time, questions, comments? It was a lot of information. I know a lot of it we already have and it was in a colorful version. Additional questions?
Yes.
Yes,
Just-
Commissioner Hoover.
One particularly is the lead pipe. So I know we got to do a survey of all the homeowners or to the best of our ability, I guess. But the cost to repair, replace or whatever lead pipes now, I guess they're going to be lead pipes in the town's system, not from the meter to the house. We're wrong. Is that right?
It could be either.
But I mean, the town would pay for anything that we have, which probably should be zero, I think. But might be something. with
Fingers crossed.
COVID. Yeah. And then the tree planting,
Mhm.
can that be done on Scott's Farm?
It could be.
There's open land there that we have that,
Mhm.
I forget how many acres you needed or whatever. I think it's 12 or 13 or something, but
I think the next round is 21 that we're doing on the daughter's property.
cool. So there's town and land that certainly can be used, I would
Mhm.
think. So, and thank you for the new welcome signs. That was on my list to find out where they at in the budget.
Yes. The cash match is already in Fund 2 and Ms. Shaw just applied for a grant.
Thank you. That's what we got for the slideshow at the moment. It's all yours.
All right, thank you. Additional questions? Commissioner O'Donnell or Commissioner Turnquist?
I don't think I have anything on the slideshow per se.
Okay,
I spoke with staff. I came in to meet with staff between now and between our last meeting and now. And the questions that I had at that time were squared away. So I'm set. Thank you.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. So I guess at this time we can move into questions regarding the rest of the budget, or do you, I mean, it's under agenda items, so are we looking for? We're not looking for a vote on the budget until number 3, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, if you want to skip there, we're good with that.
Well, wait a minute here. There's something in between.
I was just trying to,
I know,
That's what we were okay with that.
I know. Alls I'm saying is it looks like number 1 doesn't need a vote. It was just review. and
That's correct.
presentation. That, okay.
So you could do, you could do your presentation review and discussion and questions in number 1.
Okay. Well, before we go to additional questions or comments on the budget, I do believe it makes sense to look at the salary structure. And then we can go on to the budget after that. Okay. So I believe at our last session, we heard an overview from the mayor that said that the proposed salary structure for fiscal year 25 would have a 2% COLA factored in with anywhere between a 1% and 3% merit-based raise. And did I state that correctly? Okay. Any questions regarding the salary chart? Commissioner Hoover.
Just so that I understand the chart, this proposed percentage differential column, I'm not understanding that column, the numbers. 50%, 40%, 30%.
So that's the okay, that is the difference between the min and the max. So if you take the difference, for example, on grade level 1, the difference between the 4610 and the 31237 is 30%. And then it moves on up. So at the top level for your level 12, the difference between your 132,439 and 88,293 is 50%.
So this chart was established through a salary study, and this is,
I got it.
yeah,
I was looking at this 50% meaning be half of it, but no, it's a 50% increase from the 88.
right.
I got you now. Okay. Now it makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions on the salary structure? Commissioner Turnquist?
Part-time employees, how many do we have? Just one?
2. You have Ms. Shaw and,
Lambert.
thank you. Couldn't think of his last name. Daryl.
Okay, and they're paid on a different salary chart or they're not paid according to this chart, correct?
Correct.
And then did you want to mention the change on page 1?
Oh, yes, there's an error on page
5 of the packet.
where am I can't find my agenda packet. Here we go. Yes, on page 5 of the agenda packet, under letter A, it should read, employees scoring 23 or below will not receive a compensation increase because the threshold for 24 to 28 is a 1%. So it should read 23.
It's the very last sentence.
Yes.
In part A.
And that was a good catch because that's been there forever. Nobody's ever caught that. So
That eagle eye,
Good catch.
that was back in the Mayor Hoover days, I think.
probably.
And we don't have to, we can just make the change as a typo and not have to revote.
Yeah, you can just do it approved as amended.
Okay,
And I did print out a corrected copy.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions regarding the salary structure? Okay. Is there a motion to approve? I get my wording right. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance series 2024, ordinance number 20-05 as amended for the salary chart with a 2% COLA increase.
Second.
All, okay, so Commissioner Hoover has a motion on the floor, seconded by Commissioner O'Donnell. Any further discussion?
Did you say 20-05 or 24-05? Sounded like 20.
20 It's series 2024, ordinance number 24-05.
Okay,
I think that's what it says.
I just heard something different. It's probably my hearing.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. 4 in
0.
favor, 1 is absent, and no one is against. All right, moving on. Agenda item 3, consideration and approval of ordinance 24-04, adoption of the FY 25 Town of Emmitsburg budget. Okay. Since we already had the presentation, Are there additional questions above and beyond the slideshow that anybody had or wanted to discuss at this time?
I have one. Well, probably more than one, but I have one.
Go for it.
Start. So what's not in the budget, but there was a question about is better known as, I guess, the rainy day fund. Is there such a fund? Which would probably be called fund balance, but is there a rainy day fund? Or is that, because now you and I had a discussion before where that each year now it seems like the monies are whatever's left over in the previous year gets rolled over, gets what we done last, meeting, where we transfer those funds into capital projects or
Right, so that,
That's-
yes,
so now all that money is allocated, I believe.
Right.
So there is no fund balance or as they call, as the nickname for it, rainy day fund available to the town at this time.
so your excess from Fund One, that's what you shot, the excess from Fund One in the budget, the,
But yes,
what was it, 85,000?
something like that.
Something like that, that,
89, yeah.
that goes into your Fund Two or your capital improvement fund for future projects, 5-year project, lengthy projects.
Such a things like as a vehicle replacement. We put some back
Right.
this year for vehicle replacement, so we're not taking it all out of.
Oh, no, I understand what you're doing with it and I understand the practicality of it. I understand that. My concern is, without having that fund balance or rainy day fund and I didn't ask Michelle about it in the audit. I didn't think about it back then, didn't quite not see it there, but it's just, if something should happen catastrophical, the town doesn't have the resources to pay for it. To get you through a day or two or a month or two or whatever, had we not, if without a rainy day fund. So I just think there's nothing we can do for this budget. It's just FYI, but I think it's something we ought to, I don't know, discuss later down the road and maybe change it, maybe not, but at least think about it.
I think the code outlines that that's where it has to go. From your excess from Fund One, your general fund has to go to your capital improvement projects.
That may be, so that may.
Yeah,
be a
if I'm
cha-
looking
that
at-
may be a change from,
Section 3.02, it says the CIP budget shall detail for each project the amount currently obligated, et cetera, et cetera. Following adoption of the general fund budget, the Board of Commissioners shall discuss the CIP budget. The Commissioner shall allocate monies transferred to the CIP budget to specific projects. Any funds remaining unallocated to specific projects shall be identified as such.
no,
It's-
that's previously allocated money then, so.
It's my under-
I think the surplus money at the end of the year, if there is any, and
Right.
sometimes it's a deficit, but
Right,
surplus, previously would have just rolled over to, as we call it, the fund balance then, and you'll find other municipalities and states and whatever the state, because the state would typically call it rainy day fund, but that's what it is, fund balance from being rolled over year after year after year from whatever. So if a tornado comes through here tomorrow, you would dip into that rainy day fund, technically known as the fund balance. Is-
yeah, I think something's been changed since then, but I cannot,
Like not.
Say that again?
Like when we just approved the 426, I believe it was actually, we left that 20,000 in Fund One. So when we don't necessarily roll the entire surplus over, and I know if you go back and look at the fiscal year 23 audit, you'll see that from 22 on, there was a portion that was, I think there was like $125,000 left in Fund One. So I think that might be kind of what you're iterating is that, so not all of it does necessarily go into Fund Two. In the budget it does, but then what actually does, the actuals that happen, any difference, any excess then of the true amounts, once the year is audited, doesn't necessarily all get transferred. A portion of it sometimes does stay in Fund One, based on what you all approve.
Oh, right, but it gets allocated in Fund One to be expended for that,
yeah, it has to be allocated for something. It can't,
Yeah.
it's got to have a home.
right. And that's what I'm
Um,
saying, there's the fund, the home should be Well, in my mind, I'm thinking it would go to fund balance and the home would be there. And you could only spend that fund balance if if it was approved as a budget transfer from there, to whether you had to make up budget money in a year, or like I said, if catastrophic, something happens catastrophic tomorrow, like I say, tornado or what have you goes through here, then the town's gonna have to foot the bill for something for a while, potentially short-term, long-term, what have you. And that's where that money would have typically come from. So I just think, like I say, I think it's something we ought to think about and consider, because when it is, something does happen, and one day it will.
Right. Do you have a number in mind? I mean, what did you keep back in the day?
When I left, it was 1.5 million in there. And I rolled over year after year, and then you kind of kept a balance of, the idea really was to keep about three, depending on who you ask, 3 to 6 months of your budget. 1.5 million back then was more than the budget, because the budget would have been about 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 maybe, but right around there. So we had more than enough. But at the same time, it's just,
As a best practice, that ties into the water fund, the same concept of having that reserve to meet the demand if there was a catastrophic issue.
Yeah,
The other
kind of
piece
sort of,
is-
because the sewer and water fund, why you don't have to have a balanced budget in sewer and water, because it does continue to roll. You're always
Correct.
banking money in sewer, or you should be, right? Yeah, we should be banking money in sewer and water, because you're planning on long-term future big
In a perfect,
projects.
yeah, right. And that's
But in the operating, you have to have a balanced budget.
correct.
But when it's not balanced, then you go around the fund balance.
So the last time, a similar question came up in an earlier budget a number of years ago, and I can't remember. I wish I remembered the context, but funds were being put into certificates of deposit, time deposits, and they were locked. And the question that I think that came up was, should we encounter that La Plata, catastrophe, the tornado piece? How does the town access those funds without incurring a massive penalty? And the premise was that, our bank would view itself as a partner, and therefore we would have a line of credit aligned with what was held there as equity, and we would have funds right away. But right now, the question is,
You still have the funds right away. Then you might get a penalty on it.
Correct.
You're still gonna have the funds. right
one
away.
way or the, yes, right, one way or the other. but-
You may lose some of your interest. but-
Correct.
But
So-
the bulk of your money will be available today.
So I think it's a solid idea.
So I just think, and maybe that's something we get, Shell to.
Yeah, so
talk
it's,
about what-
something we should ask the auditors, because I know, at least in my time, it has not been done that way, when I took over for Dave.
When I looked at some of the audits in the past, I didn't.
It had, yeah.
It was hard to
so-
find that fund balance, but in the past audits, if you go back, the Hoover days, you see that terminology right in there, fund balance, and that's what it is. That's the title of the fund, not the description that
Right.
1.2 million is the fund balance. Well,
So that's, we certainly can reach out to Michelle and get her feel of that. And then we probably have to do some code changes as well,
yeah,
but it's something that we can look into for fiscal year 26.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea to try to be putting some back and get that built up.
yeah. So,
Well, you can always move your Fund 2 monies back to Fund 1. So you do have that ability.
right. I mean, so just in future years, you may or may not decide to roll over those
Right.
surpluses if you have them. So that's my question, concern, or opinion for the future, I guess. The only other one I have comment wise, I'd asked this question, and I think, and I'm pretty sure the answer was no, but so the operating funds or the buildings within the operating department, Fund 1, right? Operating. So in Fund 1, they don't, if I remember, the answer was they do not pay a sewer and water. So there's no budget ledger adjustment to where the Parks Department would pay back, pay an actual water bill.
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
I think it should. I think all the departments should. And again, that's the way we've done it before, where you just done that ledger adjustment because they were using that money, and then the operating budget, Fund 1 is generally tax dollars. And then the enterprise money you get reimbursed. And I know the sewer and water make that donation to fire and ambulance. Well, that so-called donation of the sewer and water gratis. But Parks and Rec and South Seaton Avenue property, 22 East Main Street property, and whatever, I don't know, I mean, the pool's gonna be a big expenditure, but they all had that budget transfer where they paid that allocated cost. No different than somebody's salary. If somebody in Parks works in water, his salary comes from water or vice versa. So the same thing with sewer and water. So that's my 2 cents. I think they ought to, each department that's not sewer and water should put those monies toward the fund. That's all I got for now, for the
Okay.
moment.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments?
Okay, I'll have comments. I did send a list of questions to the town ahead of time. There was a lot of questions and I think 95% were answered, so thank you for that. I do need some clarification on a few things that I didn't understand. Well, first I'll say that the information that was added to the budget that's required by the ordinance is very helpful in seeing how we've trended from 23 through 24 to 25. What is missing is the anticipated expenditures from April to June for the last quarter.
Yeah, I understand that. As we've prepared this budget the same way for this is my 11th budget. So, with that shorter notice, we didn't get it turned around. Because we haven't done that before. That was a request that was out of the ordinary for us.
Well, but
And-
it's a requirement of the ordinance. So
I-
it
I-
shouldn't
and I-
be out of the ordinary.
Well, I understand that, but the board has never asked for that in 11 years. So we prepared the budget the way that we normally do and put everything in it and we added the other line items. We ran out of time.
Okay, page 5, which one of those tax revenues is set by the town? Is it the personal property tax revenue? Which one does the town set? Which rate? On page 5, at the top under taxes.
It's your real estate tax at 0.3464.
So it's the first one that says county? There's real estate tax revenue and it says,
That's the town's.
okay, not county.
No, your county is your county tax equity, which is on the bottom of page 5.
Okay, so personal property tax, is that set by the town or the county?
Personal property tax, that's set by the county.
Yeah, that's the county.
Okay, so there's only one tax rate that the town sets. Okay. I didn't remember the cost of the new ITS, I think it's ITS contract for the parking meters. Do you remember the annual cost of that? And do we have that under?
Contractual Department 30.
Was it around 20,000 a year? I don't recall that number.
Right.
18, okay,
Mhm.
for the yearly software fee. Okay. And then I was curious, there's no money allocated. I was just curious about what CREP Scott Road Farm is. It's zero revenue for FY 25, which I just wasn't sure what that was.
So that was the Chesapeake Wildlife, something like that. They had a lease of part of the Scott Road Farm for farming and agriculture, and that lease ended February of this year. So it'll be zero from now on.
It was through the easements, wasn't it? Through the easements, or was that something different?
Yeah, it was for crop farming and different things, and I don't think there were easements.
Native grasses.
There you go.
planted, And they were planted through the PrEP program, which is a natural resource program.
Right.
And the program had a shelf life.
Yeah, I thought it was a 15-year
Right.
easement or whatever.
Correct. And
We done it
Oh,
on
was there an
multiple-
easement?
Yeah, we done it on multiple pieces of property. We got it so much for
That's what
payout
they
for
planted
15,
native grasses there.
15, 20 years, whatever it was.
They paid the town to have them in place.
It's free money.
Page 14. I know our new trash contract went up.
Mhm.
So the new contract is, I believe, 114,000, you had
Hmm.
said.
It is. It is 114,252.
For the new trash contract, and then the tipping, I don't know if that increased to 66,000 or if there was no increase,
There,
but
there was a slight increase.
so those two total 180,000.
Mhm.
But the utility charges that we're collecting are 209,000.
Your rates are set by code for what you charge for trash.
Did we change the code based on the cost increase?
No. Mm-mm.
So what's the additional revenue used for?
What's the revenue? I don't have that page in front of me. Revenue. Refuse. Total revenues for refuse is budgeted at 191,080, right? Or is that expenses? That's expenses. I need to find the page. What page is the revenue on for trash? Pages are all messed up. Here it is.
So what residents are paying for their current trash bill won't increase even though the trash contract just increased?
Unless the board wants to change the code, because the code sets your rates for your trash. Trash collection. Service charge for trash, shall be imposed by the town. A charge assessed to the property owners located within the corporate limits in the town is based on a rate of $31 per quarter for each residential unit. So if the board wanted to increase or decrease, that would require a code change.
No, I'm not interested
So-
in increasing the.
No,
cost
and,
of tra- I
and
mean, we
also,
already have a $30,000 buffer.
and well, it also covers your yard waste, which is about 3,000. And then the recycling, and your recycling charges.
Does the current rates pay the cost?
It will.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And should we have a line item in our SIP budget for impact fees?
Impact fees are in Fund 2.
Is Fund 2 SIP?
Fund 2 is your capital improvement, yeah, in your general fund. So $200 of your impact fee has to go to the maintenance and upgrade and a repair of your emergency warning system. And the other $1,000 is your impact fees, which can only be used for roads and parks. And it's accounted for in your Fund 2, which is your SIP for general fund.
Right. I mean, there's no budget in there for impact fees for FY 25 in the SIP budget.
There was 19,000 sitting in impact fees in Fund 2, and it's proposed to be moved to, I believe it was paving this year. But no, we don't add revenue into Fund 2 for impact fees. 'Cause we just don't know if we're gonna, it's hard to budget. You don't know if there's gonna be any development or any growth. We don't have anything planned for this fiscal year.
The Stormwater Management Fund on page 24. So that's a new fee that will go into effect July 1st, correct? My question is about the salaries that's being charged to this account. Unless it changed, the advisory committee had stated that no salaries would come out of this utility fund.
Are you talking about the stormwater advisory?
Yeah, stormwater management,
Mhm.
the advisory committee. I think I think 2 commissioners were on it. Some people from the community. But in that advisory committee report, it definitely said no salaries would be charged to this account. And in the ordinance, it says that the account will earn interest income, which would be added under revenue.
Okay.
I'm assuming the only salary there is probably the grant administrator, probably.
It's gonna be a portion of your town planner as well as your public works that are doing some of the stormwater maintenance.
I don't know what the committees, I don't know what came out of that, so I don't know.
So are you asking as far as the interest, is the interest earned on the stormwater management going to show up as a separate line item too?
Yeah, it should be there under revenue, at the top of that page.
Where does it go when we begin that? Does it go into a fund that's going to earn interest that would then stay within in that fund, or how does that work?
It's not any actual cash money that will be invested anywhere. So the interest that we already allocate 50% to the general fund and 25 to water and 25 to sewer would have to be reallocated. So it would just be coming out of another, either Fund 4, 5, or 1, general water or sewer.
So you're saying general interest is split up that way? Overall, I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Right, the interest that we're currently earning on all of our interest-bearing accounts
Mhm.
is divided between the general fund, the water fund, and the sewer fund.
Mhm.
So to the best of my knowledge, it's not like a new account is being opened to deposit any of these fees into to earn interest separately. So we would just be reallocating interest that we're already earning out of Fund 1, Fund 4, Fund 5, the general water sewer.
I think that may be where your question is, Commissioner Turnquist, if I'm understanding that correctly, is are we able to, do we know where, how much, like, okay. How much interest we have, let's say $1,000. How much of that has come from money banked from water, sewer, or general? So that, let's just say if half of it was from sewer, would the interest that came from sewer go back into sewer, or we don't divide it out that way?
No, we do not divide it out that way.
Would we be able to divide it out that way if we wanted to?
We would be able to, but sewer and water would get a lot less
Mhm.
money.
Mhm. Okay.
That
Thank
might be a good segue. As far as the interest here, for the Stormwater Management Fund, in the ordinance that was passed, looks like in 2022, establishing, it says this stormwater fee is a dedicated enterprise fund. And the revenue will consist of, number 3 is all interest from deposits in this fund. So if we have 35,000 in this fund would get 100% of the interest on 35,000.
Read it all. The intent of it.
I just think we better be careful on how we segregate the interest, because right now the water fund, which we're trying to get built up, is getting a lot more interest than what it should be getting. So if we start to divide it and segregate, you're going to see that water fund go down. So I just think we better be careful with that. So if it means making an ordinance change, I would be in favor of that instead of taking a shot at the water fund, which we're really trying to build up, because it's getting, what did we figure? It's getting a very, very large, like 80,000 more in interest than it would if it got its own fund. So it's getting about $80,000 extra a year in interest, the way we do it now.
I guess I'm confused on that. Because the interest that we're getting on the water fund was based on a balance of like 388,000. All right. But we have more money than that in our water fund. So I think maybe it would be useful if I came into the office and we just go through the numbers. I think that would be helpful.
That can certainly be done.
But basically, Kim, go ahead and explain it. Kim, you're better. How do we divide the interest?
So the interest that we earn currently, we allocate 50% to the general fund, 25% to the water fund, and 25% to the sewer fund. Currently, if you were to look at, and this is as of February 29th, when I did an analysis that the mayor requested, and we had looked at this, the general fund, the current cash balances has $2 million. And if you exclude ARPA, the water fund only has $398,000 and the sewer fund has about $5 million. So if you were to allocate based on that, then the allocation would be for the general fund to get 28%, the sewer fund to get 66%, and for the water fund to only get 5% of the interest we currently earn.
And so right now it's getting 25%. So you can see that it's getting more than its fair share trying to build that fund up.
Kim, is our MLGIP investment for our water and sewer funds calculated into that interest division?
Yes, that would be all cash balances.
Okay, so we have an MLGIP investment in our water fund. We have one in our sewer fund and we have one in our capital projects. Is that correct?
No, there's only one MLGIP account.
Was some of that money invested in the MLGIP from the water and sewer fund?
I'd have to look. The balance might be, the overall balance of the account may be allocated between the funds, but it's still one actual account bank balance.
And the money that we have in ARPA that's been allocated to water and sewer projects, and the grants that we've received for water and sewer, and the loans that we've received from water and sewer, all that interest is going 50, 25, 25.
The loans, we pay interest. We don't earn interest. That would be interest expense.
Well,
So,
we have a loan sitting in our bank that's earning interest until we pay out on the contract.
correct. Yes.
We would earn interest on it.
All the interest being earned, correct. And the CDs and everything is being allocated 50, 25, 25.
Okay. So what we really have in water and sewer is not 398,000. It's much more when you look at loans and grants and ARPA money and MLGIP. That's why I said it'd be useful if I came in and we sit down and go through it. No?
That $398,000 is the cash balance, the GL balance for Fund 4.
Correct. Without loans, ARPA.
We don't have,
The only
we don't
thing
have any loans
excluded-
sitting in the water fund.
Right. The only thing
Grants.
excluded is the ARPA currently.
Grants are reimbursed. So it doesn't sit there. You don't, like USDA doesn't say, we're going to give you a grant for the pump station, $1.4 million grant for the pump station. They don't say, here's the $1.4 million, sit it in your account and use it. No, we have to spend the money. We have to submit an account summary and then they reimburse you. It doesn't sit there. The loans don't sit there and the grants don't sit there.
Well, we currently have 6 million in our sewer fund,
Mhm.
correct? Is that grant or is that a cash balance? Any of that grant or loan, or is it strictly a cash balance of 6 million in our sewer fund?
There is as of February 29th, 4.9 million in the sewer fund.
I don't think we're going to agree, so we should probably move forward, but I think it would be useful to have a meeting with the auditors.
They'll be in the middle of June to do preparation for the audit. We'll see what we can set up. But as you know, the auditors look at our books year after year and the way that we're accounting for things is done correctly, best practices.
Can I suggest that we start off with a meeting with Commissioner Turnquist and Kim at some point, and then or are you saying that you have the information you need from the questions that you've asked tonight?
No, I think I have enough information to meet with the auditors. I mean, I've looked at our audit report and it specifically says that the interest earned goes back to the account where the money was. So maybe it's an option that the town has and it's fine, but I'm curious and I'm questioning it because, water rates are going to increase 36% again. And I think we just have to be very careful about, where our money is allocated.
Okay.
And one more thing, I think, which kind of goes along the same line. I had mentioned this before, but, we have a standalone enterprise fund for water and a standalone enterprise fund for sewer. But the SIP budget for those is combined. So I'd like to see that broken out so we know, so I'd like to see how much cash reserves we actually have for water and how much we have for sewer.
Didn't you just say the cash?
No, that's what
reserve?
I talked to you about on Thursday, that she had made that request to split out the CIP and water and sewer. The
Oh,
water
in
and
the
s-
CIP, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the water and sewer CIP. It can be, some municipalities combine them, some don't. I took this one from a local municipality, but we can certainly split them out in the future.
Mhm.
It's a planning tool. You don't approve your CIP,
Right.
but it is just a planning tool, but we can do that.
So if it's easier to understand, to see it broken out, that's something that we can look at moving forward. Okay, all right. Additional questions?
Does anyone have anything for Jared
Oh,
for that way he doesn't have to sit here we're paying him overtime and it's coming out of the sewer fund. So
I gotta say here, he's got.
well, I do. I have a question for
yeah, sure.
Jared. I see that in our growth, we projected for another water sewer operator. I was just hoping to hear from your perspective all the details of what goes into that decision. Or tell, we didn't know ahead of time that this was going to be in the budget. So we just want to understand the need.
Oh, well, there's a need for several more operators, actually. We actually did a study that we got from Maryland Rural Water. Our sewer plant alone, once you complete the study, says we need over 6 people, and that's just at our wastewater plant. We now have 4 to operate the wastewater plant as well as collection, distribution, and the water plant. So one person is just a drop in that bucket to move forward.
So, are we looking to bring somebody on? Miss Willis, I still see it listed under, I know we were talking about different scenarios, what would happen if it came out of water, what if it came out of sewer for home department? Because looking at the breakdown of how much time would be spent for this position, it looked like it was gonna estimated to be 30% water, 70% sewer is what it had on the spreadsheet.
I can't speak on the spreadsheet, but I mean, things change daily.
Sure.
You know, depending on where the guys are needed. So I can't give you a 100% correct answer where the guys are going to spend their time.
Sure. So, I mean, I think that was something Ms. Willits and I had talked
Yes.
about, is that if it was designated that way on the spreadsheet, doesn't make more sense for it to be designated sewer. And to you, for you, does that even make a difference if it's labeled sewer or water?
You're gonna do the same job, I guess.
Yeah, we all do what we need to do.
Right.
Okay.
With the sewer.
Mhm.
Can I add something? to that?
Sure.
The reason that we really want to get this position, that we think right now we have no extra time to do any preventive maintenance or do any troubleshooting or trying to find leaks or doing all that stuff. Our guys their schedule from the time they come in to the time they go home is pretty much the same every day. And it's not giving Jarrett the time as a supervisor to be able to do the troubleshooting and to find water leaks and to find the where we're getting all the wild water in on the sewer. So we think in a year or so, with having this other position, it'll end up saving us money in the long run and start to pay for itself if we're not losing water with leaks in our mains, and if we're not treating wild water through our sewer system. We'll be saving money in chemicals and what have you, and we'll be able to, plus it should eliminate a lot of the spills at the sewer plant. So That's what we're hoping this is gonna happen.
Sure, sure. And I completely understand that. I know, Jared, you're very gracious in taking us around on the water plant tour, and we saw the immense amount of technicality that goes into running just the water plant. And we never got around to the sewer plant because we talked your ear off as it was when you were feeling under the weather. So thank you for taking your time to do that. And this is just a small question. I know as it sounds like water and sewer, they spend their time in both places. Would it help to maximize to have someone designated sewer, somebody designated water? Would that help advance the people who need to get their licenses quicker, and then we could flip flop, or what is the plan?
We need licensed people at both places.
Mhm.
So as far as doing that, you're talking about, which most other towns, cities do, is they split departments and you have your water guys and your sewer guys.
Mhm.
We don't have near that capacity to make that happen.
Meaning because there's not enough people?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So like with what we have now, we
Mhm.
send everybody where the fire's at. So,
Mhm. You have 3 people under you right now?
yeah,
3.
it's only 4 of us.
Didn't, at some point in the past, was there a 5th person?
There was, but that was when Dan was on his way out, so I'm not sure what all happened there.
How many have license? Sewer
So
and water.
fully licensed, just 2 of us
Sewer and water.
to operate both places.
So does the other two have one or the other or neither? Or they're in the process.
There's a whole licensing thing, which we could have another meeting about, but they have their temporary, which is no more than a piece of paper.
Mhm.
The last guy we hired, he had 12 years with the county. He has part of his water, but he don't have all of his water license. So he needs to, which he's scheduled to take that test here in a couple months. So he should have that, which that'll be good for his water.
For water. So I give you 3 with water.
Yeah. And then as far as sewer, he don't have the sewer experience. So he's going to be another year and a half or so till he gets that.
And what's it taking, 2-3 years to get their total license?
It's 3 years in each department, but due to his past experience, I think it's only a year and a half moving forward.
But aren't they giving you credit for both departments, even though?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because you're doing 50, so in 12.
But no,
months-
they don't. They do not. If you spend an hour at water, that only counts towards water. And that's why it's a little difficult, when you hire somebody and it takes 3 years to get their water license, not working here, it's going to take them closer to 6 years because if the time's split 50-50.
Mhm.
So I guess what you're really looking for, somebody already has his or her license.
What I'm looking for, I'm
Best
looking for
body,
the best qualified
body.
guy, to be honest. Whether they have a license or not, there's a lot of different things that can get involved with that, but somebody's willing to work.
And that's how we decided to announce that. We're gonna announce that job in a couple different ways. Because as I reported back a couple months ago, trying to find licensed operators are just, for every 100 jobs, there's only 30 people for those jobs. And so if we'd be lucky enough to get somebody, that would be great, that had their license. So we're gonna announce it in a couple different ways.
I just want to add, the license or not, you could have 30 years experience fully licensed somewhere, but wherever you come from isn't Emmitsburg. You know what I mean? So you're not going to hire somebody and they know what they're doing. It's not going to happen. They will understand the technology, things like that, but it still takes months to train somebody on our system.
What does having the license then? Does it give them more control to do things without you present, or someone with a full license? Is that how that works?
I'm responsible. So whatever's done, it has to be whatever I okayed, essentially. So we have SOPs, things like that we're still working on. The state calls it process control. So if you make an adjustment, you're allowed to do that, but you can't do anything outside of that without a licensed operator.
I see. And we talked about that we do provide incentives for getting licensing along the way as little perks.
We are.
think-
We have not in the past, but we met with the mayor not too long ago and Jared had a nice proposal for it.
Oh,
One other thing to keep in mind is if you hire an additional operator, we can take Jared off of weekly rounds, and Jared is your highest salaried water and sewer operator. So
Mhm,
you're going to save some on your overtime.
mhm.
And that will also allow him to focus on the management side of it. As we keep seeing MD throwing all these mandates at us, and somebody needs to do it, but they can't do it if they're out hands-on having to fix things.
But Jared, they're working under your license, under your name and
No,
license.
no, no. See, when you get hired, the state makes you, if we hired you tomorrow, you got to fill out a piece of paper and you have what's called a temporary.
Mhm.
So you have that license, but you're not allowed to make process.
Turn it on.
Oh,
Just leave
Sorry.
it on.
You wouldn't be, you're not supposed to make process control decisions at that point unless instructed by a licensed operator.
But you don't have to be on site. You can do that via phone or something.
Right, yeah, and the technology we have now, there's a lot we can do at home, and all of my guys are doing a lot from home as well,
Mhm,
both plants.
mhm.
Right.
So, with the current proposed budget, is this reflecting it with the new position out of water or out of sewer?
The current one that you have is out of water.
Mhm.
I think I sent you one
Yeah.
that showed the proposed change if you moved it to sewer.
Yes, yes. So,
And it basically just, you'd have to compare, we can compare real quick.
yeah. That was,
The one we got this evening shows it out as sewer water.
That was water.
Okay.
The,
But you're,
I have it on my phone.
but you have a copy that shows sewer.
I do, I did it,
Okay.
I had, Kim do a draft one. So if I'm looking at this correct, Kim,
Thanks,
the
Jared.
current one you're showing for your bottom line on water expenses was 794,183. Is that correct? I can't. I don't know how anybody reads that. Oh, here it is. Here's bigger print. Yes. So your bottom line for water is 794,183. That would have the position currently in water. If you would move it to sewer, it changes your expenses to 768,661. So that's roughly a difference of 26.
Right, 25,522.
I think you're better off putting it in sewer because that's where the benefits will come from. The hourly rate's gonna come out of whatever.
Right.
Wherever he worked, the new person he or she worked.
So so that's
So
what it
that-
shows is basically the benefit change from water to sewer. And I know we talked about
Mhm,
your benefits are kind of hard to estimate. You
Mhm.
know, you could have somebody that has, a young person, their benefits are maybe $10,000-15,000.
Right.
As opposed to somebody that's a little bit older and has a family of 4, their benefits might be 30-35.
mhm,
So we kind of did an average of 26,000.
mhm. Right.
Okay.
There would be a time down the road that we would like to get that balanced out better because right now, most of your expenses are coming out of sewer, so we're not getting that true picture
Mhm.
for the water. But to get that person here and get them on board, we're good with that. But down the road, once we get that water fund built up,
Yeah.
we probably want to adjust that. That way we're getting a true picture.
Yeah, and I think adjusting it as needed is a good idea because you do want that true cost reflected, because I don't want to move things around as it's convenient, because that's one thing that we had agreed wasn't best practice. But what had led me to that was when I saw the breakdown of 30% water, 70% sewer. So I thought, well, that would make sense. Then if the majority, if that's how it was broken out, I was like, we could justify it that way. So, because again, welcome, Commissioner Sweeney. You could, it's okay. You snuck up so quietly. It's just knowing that we are still trying to build up that water fund, and we don't want to be tapping. It's absolutely 100% a need. And I want you to hear that Jared. I know it is. I just also want to be cognizant and careful when bringing in new positions that we are able to support that expense. So I do think at least moving the home department to sewer is a good idea. Commissioners, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we should, at this moment, I think we should put it in sewer. And like I say
Mhm,
before, I mean, it's only really gonna be the benefit issue because
mhm,
the hours are gonna be wherever he or she works, because some of them hours go throughout the year would be parks, rec, streets or whatever,
mhm,
snow removal, what have you. So it's really gonna come down to where
mhm,
does the full value of the benefits come from consistently.
mhm. Okay.
The rest will vary.
Did you get that, Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, like the benefits. Yes. Okay, thank you, Jared, for explaining that. That was what we needed to hear to break down the need. And we could see it when we walked around. Yeah, there's a lot to do, and we thank you for how much you put in to that job and everyone that works for you. It is an incredible job and you're doing a very good job at it. We're just talking about questions, comments in general as it relates to the FY25. Does anybody else have questions for Jared before we let him go relax for the night? I think I'm good. Thank you. Yes, enjoy, run free, run while you can. Yeah, we'll let you go, quick. We were just asking general questions or discussion about the FY25 budget. There was a nice presentation that was done via PowerPoint that showed a lot of graphs and color that helped to kind of break down what we have in here. And now we're just in the discussion of asking questions. Commissioner Sweeney, did you want me to give you a moment to kind of get your bearings or?
No, I'm fine. I didn't have any problems with the revisions as they were made.
Okay,
The new, I got, went over the emails when it was sent out.
okay.
So far, everything's good. So you're taking the new, what I'm understanding when I came in, you're 26,000 for the benefits are going to be coming out of sewer for the new employee.
Yes, I had the suggestion that
That would-
the
yeah,
home
that would be
department would be sewer.
For him, yeah, so I wrote down.
Yes. yes,
And all the
yes.
other hours where they work will be billed.
Wherever they're working, yeah, yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, any other questions? So it sounds like to me that Commissioner Turnquist, you do have some additional questions. Is that something that you feel can be discussed? And so when we come back in the beginning of June?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay. All right. So Mayor Davis, if we were to hold approving of the budget until then, until that clarification, does that mean we have to hold on the positions? Okay, so we have,
Just one position, just not two.
which one? But not, so the new ones would have to wait until beginning of June. Okay, I understand. Okay. But code enforcement officer, so either way, we could still go to closed session. Okay. Is there a motion regarding the budget? Would you like to accept the budget as presented, or recommend, well, with amendments, or do you want to have additional time to look over the information that was presented tonight and come back at the next meeting? Those are our choices.
You just asked Commissioner Turnquist about questions on the next
Right.
meeting.
Correct,
so I thought-
except, but we didn't vote.
Okay.
We have, right?
Right, right.
We have to vote on this as an agenda item. No?
You have
Am
to vote if you're going to take it.
We're not necessarily obligated to vote on it.
Okay,
but
if we don't have
We
it.
have the option to vote on it.
Thank you. Okay.
But
so-
the other side of it is if someone feels the need to put the motion forward, it could lead to, should someone make the motion to accept it or not? Well, I guess to accept it, and someone seconded that, we could still have further discussion. It doesn't mean that the vote would approve of the budget at this time, though.
Right, right.
So there are variables there.
Okay. So if we don't want to make a motion,
No, you don't have to, but if I understood Commissioner Turnquist correctly, she wants to talk to the auditors. And I'm not sure how that affects this year's budget. I think it's more of housekeeping and principle things of the way we've done things in the past, but it shouldn't affect this year's budget.
So Commissioner Turnquist, a question for you. Do you feel that the questions that you have for the auditors have a bearing on the way that this budget is presented and that there's an error or a glaring error that would derail this budget, like make it an inappropriate budget?
Well, I can sit down with Kim and I may be able to like work through it. So maybe a meeting with the auditors won't be necessary at the end of the day.
Is,
Um,
is the outcome that you seek to,
But the outcome would change, could potentially change the budget. And I still would like to see a breakdown of I'd like to see the enterprise fund for sewer and water separated. You know, if we're gonna implement, not we, but if another 36% water increase is gonna go forward, I really want to know how much money we have separate in our water and sewer enterprise funds.
is this something staff could answer at this moment?
No.
Okay,
I'm gonna make the recommendation, not a motion, that we wait. Recommendation, and again, not a motion, that we wait until the next meeting, June, whatever that is.
3rd.
For the final discussion of the budget,
Mhm.
and then take the vote then. And that way Commissioner Turnquist will have her chance and time to talk to Kim,
Okay.
and get her any other questions, thoughts, or whatever together, and then we go from there, and then that'll give Kathy the opportunity to give us the change of the for a water guy to the person to the sewer.
Okay.
one question before we follow on the suggestion. Commissioner Turnquist, do you feel that you'll have the time to meet with staff in order to pursue this to get satisfaction for your questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to add that if you're worried about the 36% increase, we're not going to know that until September anyway. So here again, that won't have any impact on this budget.
Well, our cash reserves overall, you know, whether we have 4 million or 6 or 8, the current budget says we have 8 million in cash reserves. Tonight, Kim said we had 4 million in our sewer reserve. So I'm just not clear on the numbers, and I want to be clear on the numbers before approving it.
And we can get that clarification. And I mean,
All the cash reserves are in your monthly report. I mean, I can break out the CIP, it might take me a day, but that's fine. But all your cash balances we show in your monthly report now. Correct? Yes? Yes.
And on that CIP report, that starting balance of 8 million is as of the end of fiscal year 23. So it doesn't reflect all the activity that has happened currently through fiscal year 24.
so it sounds like Commissioner Turnquist, you still would like to have a chance to meet with Kim?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so let's go with the recommendation to make sure we have those appropriate meetings set up, and we'll add in the change to the sewer department for that position, and we'll come back June 3rd.
Yeah, I'll break out the CIP. We'll incorporate the change to move him or her to the sewer department. And then the commissioner can meet with Kim.
Sounds good.
I'm sorry I was late for the meeting, but was there any other revisions that were changed tonight? Why, that weren't sent out with the other? Did you make any other changes? Okay,
You know,
just wanted to know, because I didn't know if you made any changes in a.
no changes tonight. I know there was an update because they had to reflect the change in the police contract from the original one we had. But that's already been done. Yeah, the salary structure.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then at this time, we are looking towards setting the agenda for the next meeting in June 3rd, on June 3rd.
There are no changes. I'm sorry. Yeah, there were no changes or additions to the one that we set after the May 6th meeting.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go through them?
Just as a review.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll kind of summarize.
Sure.
Number one will be a public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant. It's related to funding for the North Seaton Avenue water line replacement.
Okay.
Number two will be approval of resolution 24-01R for the Community Development Block Grant submittal authorization for the North Seaton Avenue water line replacement project.
Okay.
Number three is approval of resolution 24-02R, which is approving the Community Legacy Grant and receipt of funding for the North Seaton Avenue water line replacement project. Number four will be for consideration approval of a 25-year revertible forest conservation deed of easement with the Daughters of Charity and authorize the mayor to sign on behalf of the town. Number five, approval of the bid for construction of the Rainbow Lake parking lot for consideration. Number six, approval of the bid for the construction of a multi-user trail red trail for consideration. I can take one off. Number seven will be discussion of fiscal year 25 Town of Emmitsburg budget. Or do you want me to just combine it with the ordinance to have your discussion? You can do that, since
Yeah.
we're really not doing a presentation.
Sure.
Okay, so number seven then will be for consideration approval of ordinance 24-04, adoption of the fiscal year 25 Town of Emmitsburg budget.
Okay. Thank you. And you said the one for the Daughters of Charity, that was for the trees?
Yes, for the planting of the trees.
Okay. I have two things, not for June. For after we get through budget, at some point, I think it's worth looking ahead to the upcoming election and how that process is going to play out.
I've had some discussions
yes.
with the town attorney, but I will follow up and get more specifics.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
And then you already know, I'd like to come back to impact fees and what's the other one?
Tap fees.
Thank you. But I'm looking at that for after June. Yeah. Okay. Any additions for the agenda that you would like mentioned, commissioners? Nope. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as set, as listed by Ms. Willets? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Agenda has been set. Do we need to officially sign the salary structure ordinance before we adjourn, or can we do that after?
You can do that after.
Okay, so is there a motion to, wait,
Yes.
nope. I remembered our closing statement. We now turn to our final agenda item. The mayor and the Board of Commissioners intend to meet in closed session to discuss applications for for a personnel matter. This is the final agenda item, and the Board of Commissioners will not be meeting in another open session after the closed session has ended. Pursuant to Maryland Code Annotated General Provisions Article 3-305D, prior to closing the meeting, the commissioners must conduct a recorded vote to close the meeting and make a written statement of reason for closing the meeting, including a citation of authority for closing the meeting under Maryland Code Annotated General Provisions Article 3-305B, and listing of the topics will be discussed. I will now read the proposed closing statement, which has been prepared by staff. The topic to be discussed during the closed meeting is for applications on a personnel matter. The authority for this meeting in a closed session. Oh, gosh, it feels like it's the same thing again. Do I have to keep going? No? Okay, thank you. All right. The reason for closing the session is that a public discussion of the applicant's name and job information could discourage people from applying for town jobs. Do I hear a motion to adopt the closing statement as read and to enter a closed meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We are now transitioning to, we need to have an official adjournment. Do I hear, correct?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the public meeting.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Never mind.
Everybody seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. The meeting, open meeting has ended at 8:52 PM. And we're now moving into closed.